It's time for the March of the Machine Commander set review.
I'm your host, Joe Cherries.
I'm your host, Beezy, and that makes us the Nitpicking Nerds. And we have a Patreon where you can send us money directly. Why would you do that, you might be asking? Because we provide free value every single day, and because you might get some cool perks if you sign up for tiers, and you can check out some bloopers that are on our Patreon. We're starting to supply some bloopers on there.
Yeah, if you enjoyed our video or reread in ChatGPT AI script, there is tons of bloopers. The blooper video is almost as long as the regular video.
Patreon exclusive. No one else gets to see that stuff.
Yes, no, who does get to see it? Matthew Braley. Thank you for your direct support. We appreciate you, Matthew Braley.
You're really cool.
Sponsor of this channel, Cool Stuff Inc. Use code NERDS. Look at this. Look at this like nice little thing here. It's just displayed. Oh, it looks so cool.
Nerds.
This looks so cool. And it says use nerds on it. Cool Stuff Inc. has all your singles. They have all your sealed product. You can pre-order the pre-cons right now off the website. Start pre-ordering some singles. Get them. You can even get them for pickup. Say you're going to be in Orlando, where we're going to be. Get them, pick up those singles that you pre-ordered at the event. You know what that event is, BZ?
Command Fest Orlando? MagicCon Orlando? Which one is it?
It's Command Fest Orlando.
Command Fest Orlando.
And we're going to be there. It's run by Cool Stuff Inc.
Yes.
Hope to see you all there.
I just ordered my first card on the site, Combat Calligrapher, and I saved 5% because I used the code NERDS.
Nerds. All right. Dragon Shield has the best sleeves in the multiverse.
Good sleeves.
We literally use them in all of our decks, every single one of them, and Cool Stuff Inc. carries them. So if you want to get Dragon Shields, go through Cool Stuff Inc. using code NERDS.
Nerds.
And then, guess what?
Happy birthday.
That's it. Yep. And then happy birthday. All right. It's a long one. Get ready. Buckle in. Get ready to go. This is the set review. Mom is completely spoiled. It's out there. You can see every single card. We're going to go over everyone we think is relevant to Commander and some of the cool ones, even if they're not relevant to Commander, just because they're cool cards and everyone wants to see them.
Every single notable card. And if we forgot it, we don't think it's very good.
Yes.
Jerry's, what's the grading system we're using?
Let's go over it. We go A through F. The worst of the worst are the Fs. Those are the cards we're going to say never play. It's rare that we give things an F because most things are playable in Commander in some aspects. And also, if something's an F, why would we talk about it? There's no reason to talk about those cards. Ds, these are fringe playable. You need a very strong reason to play with. These cards, they're bad mostly, but under a lot of synergy or under restrictions such as budget, these cards will become much more playable. C, average cards, they're just going to fit in decks here, there, randomly. They're not great. They're not bad, but you're still going to play them within your decks.
They're replaceable.
They're replaceable. Yeah, I would agree with that. They're replaceable, but again, as you have more synergy, C's get better. B's, these are staples of archetypes, really strong cards. We're going to suggest you play these cards a lot. Make sure you have synergy with them, as always, as with every single card we're going to talk about. And except for the exceptions, A's are the exception to the rule where you do not need synergy to usually play these cards.
They're just amazing.
They're staples. They're staples of the format, and we don't hand out many. We did this video. Ooh. This video has Mom is just a strong set, and we got a lot of awesome cards. So let's hop into it, PC. What is the first card?
It's your card. It's Archangel Elspeth.
Yep, and I do have it in front of me. I have to read it. 2 white, legendary Planeswalker Elspeth, +1. That's with 4 loyalty. +1, you make a 1/1 soldier with lifelink. -2, put 2 +1/+1 counters on target creature. It becomes an angel in addition to its other types and gains flying. -6, return all non-land permanent cards with mana value 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield.
Could they not give us lands there?
This card's bad. I mean, there's nothing here. It's a little sad, but what are you going to do about it? I mean, Elspeth is an F. I think you really shouldn't play this card in Commander. I think it is really bordering on unplayable because you're going to play this card. It doesn't protect itself well. It's going to die often. Its minus isn't good. Its plus isn't worth it.
None of it's tempting. This is obviously just a fillery. This is a card maybe designed for Standard. As far as lore goes, it's one of the coolest Planeswalkers ever.
Yeah, that's completely fair. But this is enough. We can move on pretty quickly from it.
Yeah, let's go to Boonbringer Valkyrie, 3 white for a 4/4 with backup 1. Let's go over backup. Backup says whenever this creature enters the battlefield, you put a +1/+1 counter on target creature, and then if that creature was not the creature that is backup, it gains the following abilities, which is everything after backup until end of turn. So in this case, flying, first strike, and lifelink. So you play this, something gets flying, first strike, lifelink, and then it just has that.
Yeah, I think this is just a D-. This card is mostly bad. It's not unplayable. I think you can squeeze it into some angel decks because angels don't have that great of cards. It's going to gain you a ton of life. I mean, if you have a big thing already out, you're going to get that big swing in right away.
Feels really niche. I don't know where I'm gonna. I can't even think of a place I would use this.
I literally think Angels. Like the archetype, Angel as an archetype lacks in strength of cards. So something like this Flying Lifelinker just can hold the spot in a deck like that. Next we have Chivalric Alliance. 1 and a white for an enchantment. Whenever you attack with 2 or more creatures, draw a card. 2, discard a card, create a 2/2 knight with vigilance. So this card is pretty simple. You attack with 2 creatures, you draw right away. It's only 2 mana. Get it down. As long as you have 2 creatures, get in the red zone, and you draw a card. I give this a C+. This is kind of your average mono white card draw that we see nowadays. It's going to be good. It's what we talk about Phyrexian being bad. The thing that makes these kind of cards better, you can draw the turn you play them. That is a huge upgrade for cards like this.
Yeah, plus it lets you... I'm never going to use that last ability unless I have 1 or 0 creatures, and then you can, instead of drawing, you basically rummage. You discard to put some board presence out, then you attack and get the card right back.
Yeah, it's a good mana sink ability for when you just say you hold up a couple of spells or something, and then it comes back around, and all of a sudden it's looking like, oh, the board got wiped, so the spells I had didn't work.
I'll pitch some lands to that.
Yeah, exactly. Even like some real cards, because if you pitch, like, let's say the board got wiped, you pitch 2 real cards, you get 1 back right away, and you actually have a board presence.
C+ seems good to me. You're just going to play this card. Let's go to Conjurer's Mantle. It's 1 and a white for an equipment. Equipped creature gets +1/+1 and has vigilance, and whenever a equipped creature attacks, look at the top 6 cards of your library. You may reveal a card that shares a creature type with that creature from among them and put it into your hand. Put the rest in the bottom in any order. Equip 1. So you look at the top 6, and you maybe draw a card.
Yeah, you're going to draw a card, right? In the decks, you're going to play this in.
Like all creatures?
It's going to be all creatures, and it's going to be all creatures of the type you need to get, right? That's how you're going to build your deck. Like, this is a tribal card. That's what it's made for. So you're just going to put it into your tribal decks, then you're going to, like, say Angels, and then you're going to attack, and it's almost always going to guarantee you draw an Angel, because you're going to be playing 30+ in your deck. 6, a lot of cards to look at, so I gave this card a C+. It's super solid. It's going to be pay 3, draw, and then you'll be able to draw, it's like draw 1 every single turn. Great for exactly tribal decks.
Equip 1, pretty sweet.
Yeah, that is really what gets this thing, like, a nice little oomph. Next, we have Darksteel Splicer, a very cool card. 6 and a white for a 1/1, which is...
Wow, that's cool.
It is pretty funny. Whenever it or another Phyrexian enter the battlefield under your control, create X 3/3 Phyrexian Golem artifact creature tokens, where X is the number of opponents you control. And now here's the Splicer part. Golems you control have indestructible. Couple of questions. 1, why is this not Blightsteel Splicer? Why is he using Darksteel? I thought Corrupted Darksteel was Blightsteel.
There's still some Darksteel running around, I think, because Tezzret's got that Darksteel body now. But that's more of a ranking every commander discussion. This thing's sweet because it just makes a bajillion golems, and they're unkillable to like most board waves.
Yeah, this card is a little bit weak in that it costs 7 mana to get started, and you do get something. Okay, that's fine.
You get 10 power.
You get 10 power, but like that's not super worth it by itself. You have to get another trigger. Once you get another trigger, this card becomes worth it, and you start doing it. C-. I think this card is fine, but it is very slow. It is overcosted, and it really wants a follow-up play, but it's 7 mana.
Yeah, if you can start flickering this, you're just in business. You don't even really need anything else. But that's a lot of mana.
Yeah, I mean, you can flicker any Phyrexian, right? It doesn't even matter what Phyrexian.
It's just like a C-.
Yeah, C-. It's fine. It's going to be playable in very specific Phyrexian decks.
Well, you want specific decks? Here's Dusk Legion Duelist, and it couldn't get more specific than this. It just tells you where to play it. 1 and a white for a 2/2 vigilance. Whenever 1 or more +1/+1 counters are put on it, you draw a card, but only once each turn. So you play this in counters decks, and you're super happy about it, and it's a C+.
Yeah, this card, it's fine. Exactly. It's cheap, undercosted, draw 1 a turn. It's just like all these. It's exactly like the other 2 cards we talked about already.
Like, I don't even know what to say about it. Just play it in those decks.
You draw 1 a turn. It's a nice little card because you can get it the first turn you play it. Next, we have Elish Norn. And yes, her name is just Elish Norn.
Super cool.
2 white for a 3/5. She lost some power and toughness here. It's a little sad. Vigilance. Whenever a source an opponent controls deals damage to you or a permanent you control, that source's controller loses 2 life unless they pay 1. 2 and a white, sacrifice 3 other creatures, exile Elish Norn, then return it to the battlefield transformed under your control. Activate only as a sorcery, and then it flips into the Argent Etchings.
Spoiler alert, every single, the Phyrexian Praetor is reads crazily.
There's so much text in this card. All right, It is a saga. So the first thing it does when it comes out is you incubate 5 times. Then you transform all incubate tokens. So incubate acts. So incubate 2 in this case means you get an artifact called an incubator with 2+1/+1 counters on it. And then you can pay 2 to transform it into a Phyrexian 0/0 with those 2 counters still on it. So you get 5 2/2s from this, essentially. And then the next one is creatures you control get +1/+1 and gain double strike until end of turn. That's a lot of power.
That's an overrun.
It's 30. It's 30 damage just from this card alone. And then destroy all other permanents except for artifacts, lands, and Phyrexians. Exile the Argent Etchings and then return it to the battlefield.
As Elesh Norn.
Which means it comes back as Elesh Norn. This is a lot to look at. And I think the most important thing to start with these is we want the front side to be good.
That's what we have to cast every time.
That's what we have to cast. That's what we have to play. So is the front side good? And I think the answer is it is kind of okay. It's weird. It reads sort of like a
No Mercy,
like a ghostly prison, No Mercy type thing. But it's also your permanents. Meaning if they swing like 10 1/1s at you and you like chump block 3 of them, they're still losing 2 life for the ones you chump block because they're dealing damage to your creature, which is a permanent you control.
I guess it also kind of hoses like red board wipes and just random incidental damage. This thing might be okay. I was looking at it and I thought it was like when a creature hits you, and I'm like, this is terrible. I don't want this at all. But there's a lot more words on it, so I think it's playable enough. And then the backside is just obnoxious. Like if for some reason you hit the ultimate on Elesh Norn and then flip her back, you just have 3 creatures to sacrifice and just flip her again.
Yeah, exactly. So the big thing about Elesh Norn is to remember with all these Praetors that they all activate at sorcery speed. There is always going to be huge chances for blowout. Is that going to happen every single time? No, but Elesh Norn's asking a lot. She's asking you to sacrifice 3 creatures. Now, granted, you're going to try and sacrifice tokens so that you're sacrificing as little as possible. She's still going to get blown out sometimes, and you're going to have lost real value and mana that you put into this. That said, this card's cool. It's awesome. C, middle of the road. I think the card does enough that it's good by itself. And then when you can flip it, it's like, this is ridiculous.
Yeah, let's go to Elspeth's Talent. This is a cycle of 5 different enchantments that we're just going to talk about all at once. This one is 2 white, Enchanted Planeswalker. Enchanted Planeswalker has +1. Create 3 1/1 white soldier creature tokens, obviously like Elspeth used to. Whenever you activate a loyalty ability of Enchanted Planeswalker, creatures you control get +2/+2 and gain vigilance until end of turn. These are the most specific, narrow cards in the entire universe because not only do you have to enchant a Planeswalker, you have to want to give this ability to that Planeswalker, and then you can maybe want to take advantage of the third thing that's not necessarily that related. I mean, you have to plus to get 3 1/1s, and then you can plus again, and then they get +2/+2. This is weird because you're not even activating the other abilities of the Planeswalker.
Yeah, so these cards I think are fairly bad mostly. Every single one of them, they're all on screen right now. You can see them. They are gain an ability of the Planeswalker pictured in the card. Very well-known Planeswalkers. You get one of their abilities, whether it's their ultimate of putting everything on the battlefield, or if it's their plus like Elspeth here. And then they get another ability that's like a static of that, like that Planeswalker would have. Like Lily has No Mercy. If something hits it, it dies. These just aren't good because you have to enchant your Planeswalkers, which is already the worst type in Commander. You have to put it in even more danger. It's just not quite worth it. And these cards are cool. I want to say every single one of these cards is cool. All bad, D's.
Like, what's the only place you could ever play this card? Well, obviously, unless your Planeswalker's Commander, the only place you can ever play this is like a Planeswalker deck. How many Planeswalkers do you play in those decks? Because I don't think I could possibly go over 15 and feel like my deck can do anything.
Yeah.
And then you just have, 5 bricks that unless you have a Planeswalker and mana to enchant it, doesn't do anything. Let's just move on.
Exactly, yeah. I'll move on to Essence of Orthodoxy. 3 white for a 3/3 flying when it enters the battlefield, or another Phyrexian enters the battlefield, incubate 2. Okay, I mean, play this in exactly your Phyrexian tribal decks, nothing else. D, not very good, but fine in Phyrexian tribal.
Yeah, it creates an artifact. Let's go to Excise the Imperfect. 1 white for an instant. You exile target non-land permanent. Its controller incubates X for X as its mana value. So this is like a little generous gift impression.
Yeah, I give this card a B+, and they might be better. This card's very, very good.
Seems decent.
Yeah, it's just exile target non-land permanent. Okay, that's what we want. We don't care that we're giving them this incubated thing. Even if you're exiling a 9-drop, one, you're getting rid of a 9-drop. So fine. And then they have to pay 2 mana to get a vanilla 9/9 that is chump blockable. Sure, it can be a threat at times. I'm not going to pretend like you're going to exile 9-drops all the time and you're never going to get hit back for 9. That will happen some percentage of the time. But I don't think it's going to happen enough for you to have to worry about it. Plus, you can exile a 9/9 and then they can weaponize it against your opponents potentially. It's just as much your enemy as your opponent's enemy. I love this card a lot. I'm going to be playing it in a ton of white decks.
Would you rather lose 3 life or make your opponent incubate X?
I lose 3 life. I think lose 3 life is almost nothing.
Really?
It feels like nothing. But as you go down in power level, where life becomes more relevant, this kind of gets better. But then the creature also gets better. It's an interesting little dynamic. I think that is a good question.
At least it's going to give English on making a run for its money, which is all I can really ask for, because those cards are just both good.
And something else that makes this card better is being in one color means it goes in more decks, which just gives cards huge boost for power level.
This is true. Let's go to the next one,
which is Filigree Vector. 3 and a white for a 1/1. When it enters the battlefield, put a +1/+1 counter on any number of target creatures and a charge counter on each of any number of target artifacts. Pay 1 tap, sacrifice another artifact, proliferates. This card's fine. It comes down, it does a little Gavany Township impression, and then it does a Throne of Geth impression after that. So it's a kind of a combination of like cards like that. It's fine. I gave it a D+. I don't think it's anything special. I think the fact that the main issue I have with this card is you have to wait a turn to activate it. If you could activate it right away, I'd be much happier, because then you can just basically put 2 counters on your team right away. Can't do that, so I'm a little lower on it.
And charge counter decks rejoice. You have a new lord. Fire Maiden Commando, 3 and a white for a 4/3 flyer. Whenever you attack with 2 or more creatures, draw a card. Again, okay. Whenever another player attacks with 2 or more creatures, they draw a card if none of those creatures attacked you. Me and Cherries feel a little bit different about this one. I look at this card that can give away so many cards and just go, blah, I don't know if I'm going to play it. Mm-hmm. But it does deter attacks, so it depends on what you're deterring, I guess. But then there's times where you don't want to play this.
I think that this is going to be a card you play in purely combat metas and lower power. But I think it's pretty strong. I gave it like a C+, and BZ kind of moved it down to a C-. We're somewhere in there, so we met around a C. Well, C- is a fine grade for it, I could say. I think that in your lower power combat metas, this is just going to be a good card. Deterring those attacks is going to essentially gain your life. And yeah, players can choose to attack you, but they're giving up a card. That's a lot to give up. Like, it's not just like paying 2 mana to come get you. It's like a whole card is like, I don't want to sacrifice a card until I have to. And then you can always get this right away. It's not broken. It's not busted. I just think it's okay.
Yeah.
Next, a card that is really, really good. Guardian of Gearpoor. 2 and a white for a 3/3 flyer. When it enters the battlefield, exile up to 1 other creature or artifact you control, then return it to the battlefield under its owner's control at the beginning of the next end step.
It's the most boring card in the set.
That's exactly what I said. It's like BZ and me were talking about this, and BZ's like, why'd you give it such a high grade? I'm like, because it's good. But I know it's boring. I know we have Flicker Wisp. The same thing. Little worse. Still, it doesn't matter. This card's just a B, B-, right in that area. This card's good.
It's got stats on a flyer for cheap, and it flickers something.
3 mana flicker on a creature is a good effect for the flickers X.
Yep, B-. Guardian Scale Lord, 4 and a white for a 3/4 flyer with backup 1. Whenever this creature attacks, return target non-land permanent card with mana value X or less from your graveyard to the battlefield, where X is this creature's power. So you give something backup, you put a counter on it, and then it attacks, you get something back, and now if you untap, this Scale Lord will just keep doing that.
I think this card is legitimately as good, if not better, than Sun Titan. I think it just is. And to get a new Sun Titan is saying a lot. Sun Titan has been a staple of this format forever. And I think this card is better. You do have to get off attacks. You don't get an ETB. So for your Flicker decks, obviously Sun Titan will be better. But then again, when you Flicker this, you give backup. That ability to something.
I mean, it is an ETB.
Something bigger. It isn't. The backup is an ETB. So then again, that might be better. And if you get powers bigger, you can return things bigger than Sun Titan could ever dream of returning.
The only cost is you can't get lands.
Yes, so you can't get lands. Does that make this card worse? Maybe, but I do think this card is better than Sun Titan because of its ability to go gigantic things. B+.
Yes, this card is looking very good. I might need to get it altered because this art puts me to sleep.
Put Sun Titan.
This looks like a bad card.
Put Sun Titan on his back.
I might do that. If I look at this, like, you show me this artwork and I can just tell you the card is bad, but it's not true in this case.
It's not true. That card's very good. All right, next is a card that is absolutely unplayable on the front side, but actually flips into something decent, which is weird because usually when we're going to talk about these invasions, which is a new mechanic, and I will just explain invasions right now before I even...
You mean battles?
Battles, yes. Yes, and all the cards are called Invasion of blank, plane. This one is Gobakan, and they're all sieges, so what they do is you play them and they enter the battlefield, and you choose an opponent, so any one of your opponents, to defend them, and then they can basically need to block it, and you can attack it like it's a planeswalker or a player. Pretty simple. They come with whatever the battle number in the corner is. In this case, for Gobakan 3, when this one enters, you look at target opponent's hand, take a card, exile it, and then they can cast it for 2 more. Terrible. but the backside's actually decent. Because on the backside, at the beginning of your end step, put a +1/+1 counter on each creature that attacks this turn, and then you can sacrifice it. Creatures you control gain hexproof and indestructible until end of turn.
Yeah, all you got to do is kill the battle, deal however much damage equal to the counters on it, and then you can take the backside, and it's now on your board, and you get to use it.
Yeah, so I give this a D. I do think this card overall, the front side being so bad is rough. I think it's going to be super important. This is going to come up for battles over and over again. If you can get the value of a full card off the front side, that's when you want to play battles. And then the backside is the gravy you're going to accept afterward. This card, all the power's on the back. I don't want to have to rely on having to kill these things. Is this card good? Yeah, on the back, it's really good. It's a card I would just play. Like, I would put this backside in decks. I'm not sure how easy this is going to be to flip. If your deck has a ton of evasive flyers and wants this effect, I would try it in that kind of deck.
Overall, meh. Let's go to Invasion of Theros. It's 2 and a white for a siege. Whenever it enters the battlefield, search your library for an aura, god, or demigod card. Reveal it and put it into your hand, and then you shuffle. So you get like a weird little tutor, and it's not even that overcosted. And then we get to flip it into Afara, Ever Sheltering, which is a god. That's a 4/4, and it has lifelink and indestructible as long as you have 3 other enchantments in play. And whenever another enchantment enters the battlefield under your control, you draw a card. So it's an enchantress. It's hard to kill. You get to tutor for an enchantment that's going to help make it go. Like, this seems pretty sweet.
So the front side, I think, is a little under what we're looking for on a card, right? I don't think it's quite...
It's just right on the line.
It's just on the cusp of being like a playable card. It's something I would never play if it didn't flip, but its backside is actually pretty good. I think this thing rides the line right in the middle. This is C. It's not great. It's not bad. I think it's going to be really cool in BZ's Archangel deck because it's an enchantress in the back that is tough to kill. And also, just for throwing this out there, did you know, and I know it's not covered in the lore very well, every single one, it's because of this flavor text you can tell, all of the 5 original gods were completed.
Right, and we don't know if, because Heliod's obviously dead, spoiler alert, but we don't know if the other 4 are dead, because they might have just reverted back if there's no more Phyrexians on Theros.
They show, there's like, in one of the arts, Afara is fighting Erebos.
Really?
Yes, in the art of a card, but I don't know.
You really got to dig in these commons to figure out what's going on.
There is a lot of, it's super cool actually. There is a lot of lore.
Like story beats happening?
Like in the story, which I actually find really, really cool. All right, next we have Nesting Dovehawk, which this card is sweet. I love this card. I don't even think it's that good. I just really love this card. 3 and a white for a 2/2 flyer at the beginning of combat on your turn. Populate. Whenever a creature token enters the battlefield under your control, put a +1/+1 counter on Nesting Dovehawk. All right.
Make some dudes.
We get to populate every single turn. This is just going to be good for your little token decks. C, again, just middle of the road. I'm not like yelling, you need to play your Nesting Dovehawks, but got it. I don't know why. You
might see it at tables.
Yeah, exactly, because it's just in the middle. It's very playable. Not going to be a bad card.
All right, we got a cycle again. This is Path of the Blank, and these cards are just completely mundane sorceries that then say an extra ability, and I'll read that in a second. This is X, 1 and a white for a sorcery. Create X, 1/1 spirits with flying, and then it has Will of the Planeswalkers. Starting with you, each player votes for Planeswalk or Chaos. If Planeswalk gets more votes, you Planeswalk. Otherwise, Chaos ensues is the new terminology for that. This is only relevant for Plane Chase. If you're not playing Plane Chase, this does nothing.
So I think it's super important. Yes, we're going to ignore that line of text. We're not talking about Plane Chase Commander. That is basically a different format. So we're talking about the top line. This one is probably one of the better ones. The other ones are like
kind of stinky.
Very stinky. This one's interesting to me because, one, if it was an instant, this card would just be good. 2, they're flyers, which is super interesting because do we have a version of this card that makes flyers?
There's infinite versions that make like 2/2s or 1/1s.
Yeah, there's infinite versions that do the 2/2s, do the 1/1s. There's even a card in the set that does the 2/2s.
Yeah, I can't think of a flyer one.
But so is the flyers good? I don't know how good that is. I gave it a C-. Passable, playable, with a brick of flavor text.
Yeah, I feel like when you tell me what you got for it, I'll be like, that's pretty mediocre. But the fact that you could cast it at any number makes it playable.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, 5 mana for 3 spirits, like, ugh, but you could have done it at any moment.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's just like Secure the Waste. It's like all of them aren't that. Nothing is good. No mode is actually that good in Secure the Waste until you pull it out and you're like, oh, I can do any of those.
Yeah.
All right. Phyrexian Censor, 2 and a white for a Phyrexian Wizard, 3/3. Each player can't cast more than one non-Phyrexian spell each turn. Non-Phyrexian creatures enter the battlefield tapped.
This uncommon just randomly coming out swinging with like one of the best Probably one of the best CDH cards in the format, or in the set.
This card's a C. It's middle of the road for your standard decks. It's going to do some work. It's not bad at all.
It's good for standard decks?
By standard decks, I meant like your standard commander decks. I was talking more like not CDH.
You're talking about Brawl.
Yeah, I was talking about Brawl. Your standard commander deck. This card is fine. It's going to be super annoying. Players are going to hate it. C.
Yeah, it is Ethersworn Candace levels of good. It's very easy to play, but it's one of those cards that you kind of have to actively want to hate bear because it doesn't really synergize with anything other than Infect decks just got even better. It's going to be even more annoying.
Mm-hmm. Yep, exactly.
Yep, let's go to Sunfall. Here's Heliod again. It's 3 white for a sorcery. Exile all creatures. Incubate X, where X is the number of creatures exiled this way. Maybe I'm just spoiled, but I snooze at most of the white board wipes now because we have so many good ones. So here's another board wipe that's like, okay, and maybe you want it in something specific, but you're never going to play it because we have Austere Command, Farewell, Date of Judgment, Vanquish the Horde, and like 5 other board wipes that are better than this.
So I think this card's going to be a good budget card if it stays down in price. I also think this card is going to just be semi-playable due to the fact that it exiles. Not a lot of there is a lot of white board wipes in like Farewell exiles. I mean, Farewell's like cream of the crop.
Farewell ruins your day.
Yeah, Farewell's cream of the crop, but not many of them exile. Some do, not most. 5 mana exile all creatures. That's worth the extra 1 mana on what we're looking for our Day of Judgment. So I think that's worth it.
Yeah, like end hostilities. Don't ever play that card.
Yeah,
especially now that this is like an actual bump above for the same mana cost, and then you just get more stuff, like you get a big token.
Yeah, exactly. So some fall I think is C+. It's right in the middle. It's playable.
You just won't see it.
You might see it. I mean, you'll see it. You'll start seeing it because it's going to be a card that's new and people will have it. So
okay, you won't see it in a year.
That might be true. Volpine Harvester is next. 3 and a white for a 3/3 Phyrexian Fox, which I love the typing. Whenever 1 or more Phyrexians you control attack, return target artifact card from your graveyard to the battlefield if its mana value is less than or equal to the total power. Okay.
So just non-functional unless you have a Phyrexian deck.
Yes. So we obviously need the Phyrexian deck. That's what we need, and it returns artifacts. Exactly Phyrexian deck, C. Middle of the road, fine card. Play it there, and don't touch it. Obviously, never touch this thing if you're not a Phyrexian deck.
Wand of the World Soul, 2 and a white for an artifact. Enters the battlefield tapped. It adds white, and you can tap it to say the next spell you cast this turn has Convoke, which is interesting. If you have a ton of weenies around, it kind of makes more mana than 1.
Yeah, this one's really weird. Why does it enter tap first? I think that's stupid. I think that was this terrible call. This card in no way, under any circumstances, needed to enter tap. No. I think it is a shame that it does. It's a D. I think I would give it maybe a C-.
If we could talk about certainly talk about higher grades if it entered on tap.
Yeah, but entering tapped is a huge downside to this card. It's going to do stuff. I mean, I think this card will be surprising sometimes. It'll like if you have that army on the field for your Convoke type decks, sometimes it's just going to be like, all right, add like 10 mana right now to just make this huge X spell.
And when you throw it on an X spell, it gets extra silly. Like if you secure the waste, it's doubled because I have 7 creatures in play. Or you just go, hey, I can play a board wipe with all my creatures and then rebuild with all my lands.
And just one last time, why is enter tapped? Come on.
Boo.
Boo.
How about blue cards?
Blue cards. Change the equation. Saw people talking about this on Twitter, and I don't know why. 1 and a blue for an instant. Choose 1. Counter target spell with mana value 2 or less. Counter target red or green spell with mana value 6 or less is your other choice. F. I think this is absolutely unplayable. Don't touch it. It's bad. Just play Counterspell. Just play Arcane Denial. These cards are much better.
Every set there's a Counterspell that people are super hyped about. Who's still playing Wash Away? So let's go to Chrome Host Seed Shark. 2 and a blue for a 2/4 flyer. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, incubate X, where X is that spell's mana value. It's a little throwback to Shark Typhoon. Still pretty good, even though it's not a enchantment. You got to pay a little extra mana to actually get the shark or whatever, the creature off of it. And it's a creature, so it's more vulnerable. It feels like a D+. Like it's surprisingly good. I thought it would be throwaway trash, but it's probably playable.
My problem with this card is, again, so I just don't want to. As I'm casting my spell slinging, I get these tokens. Cool, they're piling up. I don't want to pay mana to turn them into creatures.
But you can't jump block or protect yourself.
I don't want to pay 2 mana for these vanilla creatures, which is what they are. They are all vanilla creatures. Now, if they came as creatures, card's great. They don't come as creatures. So these weird incubations, I'm not interested. I won't play this, but I see its potential.
Ooh, kind of eyeballing this for Brutaclad, though. It could be cool. If you just care about, it's a thing. You're just making things. Some decks care about that.
Also, what's cool about Brutaclad is they're things with counters, so they'll be bigger no
when
matter
you
what.
turn them into something else, they just keep the counters.
They will keep the counters, yeah.
That's going to be hard to track.
Next is Complete the Circuit. 5 and a blue for an instant. It has Convoke. You may cast sorcery spells this turn as though they had Flash. When you next cast an instant or sorcery spell this turn, copy it twice. You may choose new targets for the copy.
So this has Convoke and gives Flash, and then you get to copy whatever it is twice, and it makes up for the fact that that's impossible to do and would be terrible by giving itself Convoke.
Convoke is so important, yeah. The fact that you can just tap like 5 creatures for this and 1 land, and then have the mana for whatever big spell you want to do is what's going to make this card really powerful.
2 copies. It's a lot of copies.
It is, and I think this card is decent, but the problem is it's going to be like very specific niche, like corner case card. But if you're in the kind of deck that wants this, it's going to be good. So C+, passable, very, very strong, and it's going to do wild things when it actually pops off.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting. Let's go to Deluxe Dragster. New Capenna, they're still just driving cars during this invasion. 4 and a blue for a 4/3 vehicle. It can't be blocked except by vehicles, which is basically not at all. And whenever it deals combat damage to a player, you can cast an instant or sorcery from their graveyard for free. And if it gets put into a graveyard, you exile it, and his crew 2. Unblockable, you say?
Okay. I'm going to start with this as a D- is bad. I don't want to talk about that. I don't care about this card. This card's bad. Why does a Deluxe Dragster, a car intended purely for racing, not have haste?
Ooh.
Come on.
Ooh.
I don't understand at all. It is literally a dragster.
What's even weirder is you could have just actually straight up color shifted this to red and then given it haste, because the red can still do this like a little ability. So I don't know. I mean, it's hard to find the deck that like has creatures and wants to play all these spells and then is like going to go to combat and attack, but like the next turn is a 5-mana investment. I like the text; it's cool. It's hard.
You have to take stuff from your opponent's deck too. It's just like
they have to have stuff.
Yeah,
in addition to all that other stuff.
It's like it is pretty much unblockable, but still. All right, next is awesome because it's Yuta Takahashi's World Championship card, and it is so cool. It's Fairy Mastermind, 1 in the blue for a 2/1 flyer with Flash. Whenever an opponent draws their second card each turn, you draw a card. 3 in a blue, each player draws a card. When I don't even care about that ability. That
part is a trap.
That is a trap. That is flavor text. That is like desperation mode.
You know, you're 2% of games you're going to do that. It kind of makes the card look worse actually because it's on there.
Yeah,
but the first ability.
I think this card is amazing. I think this is an A. I think this is already. This is as soon as it releases. This card is going to be a staple of this format. I told BC, there's 2 situations with this card. You play it and your opponents draw cards, and then you draw cards with them. Or you play it and none of your opponents draw cards, and they lose because none of your opponents drew cards all game.
They kind of have to do that eventually.
They have to. I mean, card draw is such an institutional part of Commander and so important. I know institutional is way the wrong word.
Whatever.
But it is such an important part to the format that it's the reason White is getting card draw. Like, Wizard saw it's like, oh, it's so important that even though White in the color pie can't do this, we need to make it because it's so important to the format.
Same with red.
Everyone's going to draw cards. They have to, or they're going to lose. I would say in a game of non-CEDH, non-competitive Commander, if a player doesn't draw any cards, they will not win that game.
They will probably just fizzle out and die. We've seen it a million times. This thing kind of gives you a freebie because you're going to play it at instant speed when someone's about to draw a card, and it pairs really, really well with the Monarchy. It makes things real awkward for them.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
Like, you want to take the Monarchy? Want to take the Monarchy from me? Go ahead.
This card's so good. I didn't even realize it. It's so good. One, it's an evasive fly that takes the Monarchy, and then it punishes them for having the Monarchy.
They can't even steal it from you because if they take it, you're just like, I'll still draw a card.
Yeah,
I'll draw an extra card actually.
That's so good.
I want to do that.
This card is an A. This card might be close to an A+ because this card I think is going to be a super staple of this format.
Seems great.
That you're just going to see everywhere in every deck that has a little bit of synergy. I like this flyer. I like this fairy. I like this rogue. Oh, now all of a sudden this card's busted because it's one of the best cards in your deck.
Herald of Hoofbeats, 3 in a blue for a 3/3 with horsemanship and other knights you control. Have horsemanship, which means they can't be blocked except by creatures with horsemanship. It's super flying, and this is a weird callback to horsemanship, and it's a blue knight. So it's going to go in almost no decks ever. But if you really need a horsemanship creature, this just has that, and it can maybe give it to some changelings or something. It seems like a C+.
It goes with knights. It goes in. It's a good card for knights. It's all your knights are going to be.
Actually, it is really good in the changeling deck too.
Yes, the good in the changeling deck, good in the knights deck. But this is just a funny card. It's not even a callback to horsemanship. It's just horsemanship. A callback would be like, hey, this is sort of like horsemanship. No, they just went with it. They said, screw it, horsemanship.
Yeah, this knight is on a horse, so nobody can block it. Other horses are involved in the battles, but they can be blocked.
Yeah, one of the funniest things about horsemanship, horses cannot block creatures with horsemanship.
That's true.
Absolutely hilarious. You need a manned horse to block a man on a horse.
Yes.
All right. Next, we have Invasion of Archivos, 3 blue. And if you don't know, Archivos is Strixhaven. That's where Strixhaven is located. When it enters the battlefield, search your library, graveyard, and or outside the game for an instant sorcery card you own. Reveal it and put it into your hand. If you search your library this way, shuffle 7. So you have to hit it for 7. That's a lot. Then we have Invocation of the Founders. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell from your hand, you may copy it. You may choose new targets for the copy.
All your spells get doubled.
All your spells get doubled. It flips over. So much to attack. So I'm really low on this card because when I look at it, the front side is bad. 5 mana, 2-drop instant sorcery, terrible. That rate is not even remotely close to where I want to be. 7 loyalty or whatever it's called, battle counters, prestige, HP, yeah, hit points, whatever. D-. I think this is absolutely terrible.
It seems bad, but if you can set up a cool turn where you can flip it right away, you're obviously just going ham.
I would just suggest playing the 7 mana version from Amonkhet. That does the same exact thing. Just play that. Don't jump through all the hoops and do all this. Just
pay 2 more mana and just get it.
Just get it, yeah.
All right, Invasion of Segovia, easily the funniest battle. It's 2 and a blue for a siege. They're all sieges. I'm going to stop saying that. When it enters the battlefield, create 2 1/1 blue Kraken creature tokens with trample. And they don't get bigger on the backside, don't worry. And if you deal, what do we got? 4 damage, you get to flip it into a legendary serpent. This is Cadus, Sea Tyrant of Segovia, as a 3/3 wrapped around somebody's ankle. And non-creature spells you cast have Convoke. Beginning of your end step, untap up to 4 target creatures. So not a powerful creature stat-wise, but has decent ability.
No, yeah, so this is all decent, kind of cool. Let's look at this card, and this card is flavor absolutely there. So
it's
cool.
Phyrexian's foot.
Segovia is a tiny plane. Everything is very tiny on this plane. Segovian Angel we've seen, which is just a little 1/1. It's a Sarah Angel of the plane, but it's a 1/1.
Yeah.
And then you see there's an old card called Segovian Leviathan, which is actually a huge reference to. It's a 3/3 Leviathan that was originally serpent type, but Leviathan's now a creature type, so now it's a Leviathan. This is basically that. It is on the back. It is that 3/3 legendary creature callback. It's one of the biggest things on the plane. 3/3 power toughness.
It's legendary, yeah. So if you get 2 creatures for 3 mana, so you don't even feel too horrible if you can't flip this for a while, and then you get a nice little kind of rampy type creature.
Yeah, and it supplied you with those 2 creatures that can now convoke. So,
and thank God they have trample.
Yeah, I do love that. It's so good that they have trample. It's so funny. All right, next we have Jin Gitaxias. 3 blue, Ward 2, 5/5. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell with mana value 3 or greater, draw a card. Pay 3 and a blue, exile Jin Gitaxias, then return it to the battlefield transformed under its owner's control. Activate as a sorcery and only if you have 7 or more cards in your hand.
That's a lot of cards.
And then we have the Great Synthesis. Draw cards equal to the number of cards in your hand.
Which has to be at least 7.
It has to be at least 7. You have no maximum hand size for as long as you control the Great Synthesis, which is weird because we're going to flip back. But we're getting to the good part. Return all non-Phyrexian creatures to their owner's hand is the second thing. And then 3, omniscience. So you can cast any number of spells with this ability right away. Just, I'll cast these 10 spells. Okay. And then it flips back into Jin Gitaxias.
Which you probably still have 7 cards in your hand, so whoop, back at it.
Jin's actually pretty good. If you're playing a deck with a little higher of a curve, he basically is going to draw for everything you do, every non-creature. So
yeah, but there's like delve spells and stuff that don't even cost that much.
Yeah,
you're still gonna get.
Yeah, exactly. So and I think getting to 7 with him out is going to be reasonable. I mean, obviously your lower cards, your 1 and 2s aren't going to draw cards, but everything else in your deck just is. So every 3 drop it up is just going to draw you cards and keep you refreshed. Now you just need a little bit more card draw to flip them. It's a lot. It's 9 mana basically for him, and then the flip. It's not cheap, but again, once you get to the backside, it gets ridiculous really quickly.
Yeah, I think all these Praetors, they're going to be kind of hard to ultimate because they're enchantments that are going to be in play and couldn't be bigger lightning rods if you tried with all those words on them that all seem really cool. So you're going to get your values worth at least right away when you flip it to go to 14 cards in hand. That's pretty sweet. That's kind of a Jin Gitaxias classic. But I'm interested in the front where I can just play things like Frantic Search and Treasure Cruise and just go ham.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think this card is good on the front, but I put it right in the middle. I think this card is good, playable. You're going to see it a lot. It's very cool, but I don't think it's broken or busted or anything. And like you said, getting to the back is super, super hard.
They did a good job. They made all of these seem like the most backbreaking epic cards ever, but they're actually kind of hard to ultimate.
I do like the ES Ward 2, too. That is a big upside for this one, where it's like, at least my opponent had to spend a little more mana to blow me out.
All right, Path of the Enigma. Oh, this is the Casmino one, I just realized. 4 to blue. Target player draws 4 cards, and then you vote to Planeswalk or ensue chaos. This is Tidings. We don't play Tidings, so we're not going to play this card.
Yeah.
Next.
Yeah, it's just a D-. Like, you're probably not touching it ever. Rona, Herald of the Invasion, 1 of the blue for a 1/3 legendary creature, human wizard. Whenever you cast a legendary spell, untap Rona, tap, draw, then discard a card, and you can pay 5 and a Phyrexian Black to transform it into Rona, Tolarian Obliterator, trample, 5/5. Whenever a source deals combat damage to Rona, that source's controller exiles a card from their hand at random. If it's a land, you may put it onto the battlefield under your control. Otherwise, you may cast it without paying its mana cost. So, she's Rona, the Phyrexian Obliterator.
Right. You kind of don't want to hit it if I'm the opponent. It's like, I like the cards in my hand, and I'm going to put it right into play under their control, whatever it is. I'm looking at the front side where it's just Merfolk Looter, but you can just untap it by playing more spells like your commander, or like even just like Mox Amber will just untap this and let you just keep going.
Yeah, it's just the most average, middle of the road. You're not going to... I don't think it's good. I don't think it's bad. I think the flip side is butt, so it's like, I don't even want to flip it. It does more on the front side.
I like the front side the most, so sometimes you'll flip it. It's nice to have, but
Well, yeah, it's always better to have an option, even if it's a bad option.
Well, it's like, would I rather, though, have this be just a blue Merfolk Looter and forget the rest? Yeah, I would rather have that.
Yeah, all right, moving on.
This is C double, not CW. It's C double. It's 2 blue for an instant, and it can't be copied, thankfully. You choose one, and if the opponent has 8 or more cards in their graveyard, you can choose both. That's pretty likely to happen. Copy target spell. You can choose new targets and create a token that's a copy of target creature. Nice little 2-for-1 if you have the threshold on your opponent.
It's cool. It's finally time for this nice instant speed playable version of like the copy a spell. I don't like them. I think like Reverberate and all these aren't very good cards because you're sitting there and you're waiting and you're like, I need this potential. I need to wait for this situation to come up where I can do this and it'll be good. And it's like, but instead of doing that, okay, now when it doesn't happen, you get something, you can just copy a creature on the battlefield. I love that. And then later in the game, the threshold for your opponent, as BC put it, you just get both modes, which is super awesome. B-, I think this card is actually a very good clone, one of the better ones we've seen in a while.
Yeah, and the one of the playable versions of the copy a spell thing is Fury Storm, and that spell can copy itself infinite times if you just like do anything. That's pretty stupid, so I'm glad this can't be copied.
Yeah, it is good that this card cannot be copied. All right. Schema Thief. 3 and a blue for a 3/3 flyer. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player, create a token that is a copy of target artifact that player controls. Way too reliant on what our opponents have. I don't want to have to rely on my opponents to get good things. Maybe play this in like a Brutaclad deck where it's kind of interesting, where you can steal their best thing. And it's like, whoo, I'm going to make their best thing a token. And D, it's fine.
Yep, let's go to Transcendent Message. Geez, this card is interesting. X, blue for an instant. Convoke, draw X cards. As long as you have little tiny bodies, this card is ridiculous. It is so good. It makes Blue Sun Zenith embarrassed in comparison, but you got to be in a blue creature deck. You got to be able to make dudes.
I think this might be the best version of this that we have.
The like draw X cards, instant blue card.
Yeah, X blue, some amount of
X
blue.
and a million blue pips, draw a card.
It's 4 in this case. It's usually 3. Sometimes it's 2. We've even seen 1 on some versions of the card. I really do think this is the best version of the card that we have. I gave this an A-. The fact is you can turn your creatures into cards. You just hold it up. You pass with all your mana up. March of the Multitude is strong because you can turn all of your mana and creatures into more creatures. What if instead of creatures, they were cards? A card is better than a 1/1 token with lifelink. It's not even close. This card is stupid once you get it going. It's like, set up your board, get going. and then you just, I'll refit my hand. It's like, just throw everything you have on the battlefield. Who cares? You have Transcendent. You're just going to rebuild in like 2 turns.
Yeah, that's pretty sick. Let's go to black.
Oh, yes. I like this first card. It's not even that good, but I'm going to play it in Henzi because it is very good in Henzi specifically. It is Archangel of Shadows. It is actually not Archangel. It's Archpriest of Shadows. 3 black for a 4/4 with Death Touch. It's got backup 1, and whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, return target creature from your graveyard to the battlefield. So you can give the other any random creature you have Death Touch and the ability to return something. So it's either they're going to trade off or if they have to chump block, try and give this to a flyer, an evasive threat, so that you can get in and make sure you revive something. Then this is an annoying 4/4 Death Touch. It's going to either trade with something that's big, so it's trading off something real, or just have to be chump blocked every single turn. Give it a C-. This card is not broken, not busted, but it's cool and it's pretty good.
It's fine, and I really want to give double strike to whatever I'm backing up.
Yes, I think that's fair.
Blight Titan. Ladies and gentlemen, it is here. The Grave Titan parody by the Phyrexians. This is 4 black for a 6/6 Phyrexian giant. It's got Death Touch. You can tell it's Grave Titan because there's a little stitched up hole where all the zombies used to be pouring out. And I think the upper body also probably looks like Grave Titan if you squint really hard. When it enters the battlefield or attacks, mill 2 cards, then incubate X, where X is the number of creature cards in your graveyard. So you only get 1 little incubate token, but it can be pretty big. But oh boy, we have the same problem as we do with Grave Titan. It's just stats.
It's just stats, and it's not good stats. And again, I don't want these stupid incubate tokens, these dumb incubate tokens that I don't want to pay 2 for vanilla creatures. Stop making me pay for these vanilla. It's like, put a vanilla creature in your hand. It's like, yeah, but I don't want that vanilla creature, man. It doesn't do anything. Grave Titan sucks, and Blight Titan sucks. I mean, this card doesn't even combo. At least Grave Titan combos.
So the interesting thing about incubating a really big creature or over and over is once you untap with the incubate token, the creature has haste. So if there's a board wipe or you fire off something, you can push through a lot of damage. That'll come up, but it's not the most exciting thing when I got a 6/6 for 6.
Yeah, I mean, again, maybe it is possible. I am not, perfect. I could be wrong about incubate. It could be better. It looks so bad.
I think it's okay. I don't think there's a lot of good cards with it, incidentally, and I don't think this is really that great.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, that's all mechanics, right? All mechanics are relying on what the cards any mechanic can be good if you make that stupid shark a 1/1 for 1. It's like, yeah, that card's really good. It's like, obviously. So yeah, when you make the cards good that have it, yeah.
D. Better than Grave Titan.
Next, we have Bloated Processor. 3 and a black for a 3/2. Sacrifice another Phyrexian. Put a +1/+1 counter on Bloated Processor. When it dies, you incubate X for X its power.
Blech.
D-.
Surprised you even put this on here.
I only put it on here because I literally am putting it in one of the upgrades, and I gave it a D-. It's only playable in Phyrexian Tribal.
There you have it. Breach the Multiverse. 5 black for a sorcery. Each player mills 10. For each player, choose a creature or planeswalker in their graveyard. You reanimate them, and all your stuff becomes Phyrexians because this card is super flavorful. It represents the World Tree. Rip it into the multiverse. Kind of cool. It's a Rise of the Dark Realms, alternative type card. Probably going to be infinitely cheaper than that. And I think it could be good. It's a 4 for 1. It's probably a D+.
Yeah, I think this card is mostly bad. It's ridiculously cool. Ridiculously cool. Not very good. Yeah, D+ is a good grade for it.
Milling 10 for your opponents is kind of also an advantage for them. I'll just mill 10 at the start of the game every time. So you don't get off scot-free on it.
Very true. Next, we have Exsanguinator Cavalier. 2 and a black for a 2/3 with Menace and Lifelink. It's a vampire knight, and whenever a knight you control deals combat damage to a player, put a +1/+1 counter on that creature and create a blood token. Which is blood tokens are you pay 1, you discard a card, then you draw a card. This card's fine. At least it has Lifelink. It grows itself. It grows your knights, and you get a lot of blood. But I mean, knights. The new knight deck does sort of have synergies with the graveyard, so. The discard synergies kind of work. Knights. It's completely fine. This D+. If you're playing Knights,
let's go to
put it in.
Let's go to one of the better cards in the set. This is Hoarding Broodlord. 5 black for a 7/6 dragon with Convoke and Flying. ETB, search your library for a card, exile it face down, then shuffle, and for as long as that card remains exiled, you may play it, so there's no downside of it being in exile. And spells you cast from exile have Convoke. So now you can cast not only this dragon for cheaper if you have little tiny dudes running around, you can cast the spell maybe right away.
All of the people out there for years, as we've been telling you,
here you go,
that Runescar Demon is unplayable. This is the playable version. This is the card we've been waiting for. This thing is amazing. 1 more mana. Okay, we lose 1, or we gain 1 power. 1 more mana, and we Convoke. Convoke is an absurdly strong ability. This card is so much better. It is actually a good reanimation target, combined with the fact that it also has synergies with your Play from Exile deck. What is going? This card is just randomly just a house all over the place. It also doesn't go to your hand if that matters. In some cases, it will. Like, oh look, they made us wheel. The card I tutored wasn't in my hand.
Safe and sound.
Safe and sound. It's got so much upside over the Runescar Demon. Runescar Demon, I think is like pseudo. Like, I would never put in a deck.
It is just the most forgettable, like, not that great card.
And I gave this card an A. And I stick by it. I think this card is ridiculously good.
There's a lot of extra upside on it.
I think that Convoke is such a strong ability that when you take a card that's like even just pseudo playable and give it Convoke, all of a sudden it's amazing. It's like blue.
It changes all the math.
It's like Blue Sun Zenith. It's like we were just talking about. It's like, hey, Blue Sun Zenith's a pretty good card, but when you change the math and you give it Convoke, it's an amazing card now.
They did the same thing. They added a black pip to Runescar Demon. They added a blue pip to Blue Sun Zenith.
Keep doing it. I love it. I mean,
they make a good card with extra pip and Convoke.
Yeah, give me good card, extra card.
Oh wait, sorry, no, because then that would imply that Runescar Demon is that great.
The thing is, it was probably good years ago.
Mediocre.
It was probably good years ago, like at the start of Commander.
The game started on turn 5?
Yeah, but I think people just have kept it around way too long. I love this next card. It's Infernal Sovereign. 4 black for a demon, 6/6 flying, trampler. Skip your draw step. Love that text. Whenever you play a land or cast a spell, draw a card and lose a life. This card's so cool.
Whenever you do anything.
It's very risky, and you're going to die to it slowly over time, but that's classic old school demon, right?
Yeah,
for
black
Magic
cards in general.
They're just going to kill you as you play the game. And this one's like extra big. I also love its flavor text. Dominaria was his to conquer. The Phyrexians were merely the latest fools to stand in his way.
Yeah, because the Phyrexians, as soon as they breach out, they're kind of chumps because everyone can beat them somehow.
They weren't. No, everyone wasn't beating them. But either way,
they weren't ready for a lot of things.
This demon, its flavor text feels legendary, but he's just a random demon.
There's plenty of this guy running around.
Yeah, he's a C. This card's cool, middle of the road. Put it in. I don't know where you want to play it, but put it in a deck.
Put it somewhere. Invasion of Fiora. That is the conspiracy plane. 4 black. When it enters the battlefield, choose one or both. Destroy all legendary creatures or destroy all non-legendary creatures. This is a board wipe battle, and if you have legendary creatures and they don't, and you destroy all non-legendary creatures, you can then just take this battle out right away.
Yeah, it's an overcosted board wipe for sure.
And then turn it into Marchesa, Resolute Monarch, Menace, Death Touch. When it attacks, remove all counters from up to 1 target permanent. Could be a battle if you have another one around. At the beginning of your upkeep, if you haven't been dealt combat damage since your last turn, you draw a card and you lose life, and it's a 3/6, so you're kind of the Monarch.
This thing incentivizes you not to be attacked too, because it guns up the ground with its big old butt. Marchesa has been doing squats.
3/6 Death Touch.
She squats, BZ, because she's not working out her arms. She's not working out her chest.
Just
squats. The glutes, baby. Her butt is growing. She is doing great. She is showing off that booty.
Actually, she's not. She's just sitting down.
That's true. But she's sitting down on that booty.
True.
Actually, she's not. She's being very mommy and stepping on somebody.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, this card is fine. It's middle of the road. It's like a bad board wipe. It's not. It's so.
But there's upside on the backside.
Yeah, but there's upside on the backside, which is whatever. C-, bad board wipe. Okay card in the back. I don't mind the card. Next, a card you're only going to play in Knights. Locthwain Lancer, 4 black for a 5/5 menace. And whenever a knight you control dies, each opponent loses 1 life and you draw a card. It's overcosted for this kind of effect, but instead of you losing the life as usual, your opponents do. C, play it in Knights, don't play it anywhere else.
Yeah, I don't know what to say. They just keep putting slightly better versions of cards we already have that are only work for Knights. And it's like, they'll be good in Knights. And I can't say anything else about it. And I can't say anything else about Path of the Schemer, because it's 4 black. For a sorcery, each player mills 2 cards, and you can reanimate a creature from a graveyard onto the battlefield under your control, and it's an artifact. And then you can vote for Chaos or Planeswalkings. You get 5 mana for like a reanimation. And this is just embarrassing compared to some of the stuff we can do, like Incarnation Technique, for example, Victimize even. Just don't bother with this.
Yep.
Unless you're trying to Planeswalk.
I agree. We could just move on to Pylon. 3 black for an instant. It's got Convoke, baby. We love that Convoke ability. Destroy target creature or Planeswalker. Surveil 2. Awesome. B. I love this card. It is pretty simple. It is worse than Lethal Schemes.
Because that card is obnoxious.
Because that card is obnoxiously good. This card's still very good. You get Surveil 2. So it's still, you get some more extra upside. BZ actually recently asked me about the 5 mana, convoke one from an old
Mob from Modern Horizons 1.
Mob from Modern Horizons 1, and I think that card might be good on a budget. I would like to test it. I think this card's good. I think Lethal Schemes is good.
Makes me want to try out Mob on a budget.
Cards that can be free have very high potential.
Yeah, we've been higher on Sundering Vitae, too, lately.
Yes, that card's good.
Yep, Shield Red. This is the only Praetor I'm going to read, by the way. 3 black for a 4/5 Phyrexian Praetor with Menace. When it enters the battlefield, each opponent sacrifices a non-token creature or planeswalker. 4 to black. Exile, then return to the battlefield transformed as a Saga. Activate only as a sorcery, and only if an opponent has 8 or more cards in their graveyard. Really not that hard to pull off, but it is 5 to play and 5 to flip. And it's going to turn into the True Scriptures. For each opponent, destroy up to 1 target creature or planeswalker they control. And then the next mode, each opponent discards 3 cards and mills 3 cards. And then finally, you're going to put all creature cards from all graveyards onto the battlefield under your control, exile this thing, and flip it back into Shield Red.
Okay, so the problem is, its front side is so bad.
Shield Red's the worst Praetor, right? I think she's going to end up being the worst.
Yeah, this is 5 mana Fleshbag Martyr. That's no.
I mean, you're going to get more relevant creatures on average, but the cost is higher all the time.
Yeah, I don't like it. I think this card is pretty bad. And then the flip costs a lot. It's easy to do. I think it's a D. I think this is probably, by far the worst Praetor.
And if you're like ahead, this doesn't really do anything. I mean, because you got to have to wait, like, destroy a creature for each opponent. Well, what if they don't have, if they're not developing or they don't have that many creatures in play? It's like, and then you're waiting so long for this thing to stay in play to get the cool mode, which makes them discard 3 and you start getting value.
Yeah, it's
weird. I think it's kind of finicky.
Next, we have a Planeswalker that I think is very good for Commander, which is so rare to say.
Especially from us.
Chandra, Hope's Beacon. 4 red for a 5 loyalty Chandra. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery, copy it. You may choose new targets for the copy. This ability only triggers once each turn. Who cares?
But it's still every turn.
It's every single turn. That means instants. Pluses to make mana so that you can cast that instant or sorcery the turn you play it. Plus exile the top 5, you can cast instant or sorcery from among them. Or minus to deal X damage to 2 targets. I love this card. I gave it a B+. I think B. I'm going to give this card a B. It just copies your instant or sorcery. This is a strong effect on a Planeswalker, and then it does other things.
Yeah, Chandra's pretty cool. She gives you an immediate effect, and she can even function, like, she doesn't have an ultimate, which we usually don't care about on a Planeswalker. It doesn't help the valuation of the card. So she's like, no, I'll just spot you a 2-for-1 just in case I'm not good for the other modes.
Yeah, I love it. I'm really a big fan of this Chandra card. Again, just being able to copy something and then instants. All your nice little instants. Like, pass, I'll copy one on your turn, I'll copy one on your turn, I'll copy. It's going to get you so much value so fast that even when it dies after 1 or 2 turns around the table,
it's getting cards. Yeah,
you're going to have gotten the card advantage you needed.
Let's go to City on Fire. 5 red for an enchantment with Convoke. If a source you control would deal damage to a permanent or player, it deals triple that damage instead. So they took Fiery Emancipation. Didn't add a pip though. They just added 2 colorless mana and gave it Convoke, which probably just means this is better than that card, right?
Yeah, that's what I think. I think Fiery Emancipation is totally playable, reasonable card around like a C rating. C+ for this. I think that giving it Convoke is going to make it easier to cast than your 6 mana version of it. This card is this is a big, strong effect. I've seen Fire Emancipation enough to know now. Like, I had not played it a lot, but now it's ridiculous. Then times 3 is not like a reasonable amount.
You take 7 from a commander, you die.
You take 7 from a commander, you die. You take 1, no, you take 3. Everything is multiplied by 3, and it just gets, the numbers grow really fast.
Yeah, they do, and it's interesting because it's like, if you don't have creatures out, then this is harder to cast and it's worse. It's like, but if you don't have creatures out, Fire Emancipation is probably also bad.
Yeah, if you don't have creatures out, City on Fire sucks.
But it's not like Fire Emancipation.
But Fire Emancipation is equally as bad.
Yeah, it's not doing you any more favors.
Also, this couldn't be called City on Flames.
What is that even? Is that a music thing?
It's a Blue Oyster Cult song. BZ's
too young.
Too young. Uncivil Unrest. 4 in a red for an enchantment. Non-token creatures you control have Riot, which means when they enter the battlefield, they can either enter with a counter or haste. It's your choice. If a creature you control with a +1/+1 counter deals damage to a permanent or player, it deals that much damage. It deals double that much damage instead. So you double up damage on your +1/+1 counter creatures. Pretty sweet card.
Haste enabler.
It's a haste enabler. I give this a C. I'm going to give this card a C. It's fine. It gives all your non-tokens haste, basically, or we can give them +1/+1 counters, start double, and then they start dealing double damage. Totally fine. Totally plausible card. just not broken or anything.
I'll throw a C- at it and hope that this can become a budget card because haste enablers are really hard to come by on a budget. Let's go to Dance with Calamity. This is like the coolest card. 7 and a red for a sorcery. Shuffle your library as many times as you choose. You can exile the top card of your library. If the total mana value of the cards exiled this way is 13 or less, when you stop, you may cast all of them, or any number of them, for free. So you have to make sure to not bust on your little mini blackjack game.
It is a game of blackjack, yes. You reveal, you go, okay, the total's 1. Okay, I'll do it again. Total's 7. I had a 6 drop. All right, I'll do it again.
Land.
Okay, land. And you just keep going until you want to stop. And if you go over 13, this card does nothing.
Yeah, holy crap, don't go over 13. This card is trash if you do. It's already pretty bad. You're not cheating that much mana.
This card is bad.
But it's really cool.
I think this card is bad. I think it's a D. I wouldn't suggest really playing this card. I'm going to put in the deck that side. I'm putting this in the Feldorn deck because it...
For power, don't throw this in the deck.
Exactly. This is not a powerful card. This is not something you want to be playing for power. It is so cool, and it is a fun minigame. I'm fine with busting once in a while because it's so fun to play the minigame. Up next, we have Atali, Primal Conqueror. 5 red for Atali. 7/7 trample. When it enters the battlefield, exile the top card of each player's library. You may cast all the non-lands from among them. Pay 9 and a Phyrexian green to flip them into Atali, Primal Sickness.
I love that name.
It's 11/11 legendary creature, Phyrexian Elder Dinosaur. Trample, indestructible. Whenever Atali Primal Sickness deals combat damage to a player, they get that many poison counters. It is Blightsteel Colossus.
On the backside, already attacking you, but you do know this is coming from a mile away. But Atali gets so much value on the front side that I kind of just want to flicker it over and kind of save the backside and for only when somebody's caught off guard.
Yeah, exactly. So this is a C. This is middle of the road. Atali's front side is good enough that it makes it a pseudo-playable card. As with the other Atali, you're just like, we already know one Atali trigger is worth a lot. It's pretty powerful effect to get. So getting it on ETB rather than having to attack, just in case you didn't notice, Atali dies before it can attack all the time. This Atali gives you it on the face, and it's even bigger. It's a 7/7 Trampler, which is a much bigger body as a threat compared to a 6/6 without Trample.
This is true. Let's go to Hedron Detonator. 2 and a red for a 2/3 Goblin Artificer. Whenever an artifact enters the battlefield under your control, he does 1 damage to target opponent. And then tap, sacrifice 2 artifacts, and you impulse draw. I don't know.
That's how
it's like Ingenious Artillerist and Reckless Fireweaver are commons that hit all my opponents. And I'd almost rather have that and just throw away the weird impulse draw thing.
Agreed.
You can't always sacrifice 2 artifacts willy-nilly.
Yeah, exactly. I just gave it a D. I think this card is pretty poop, and I'm not interested in it. Next, we have Into the Fire. 2 and a red for a sorcery. Choose 1, deal 2 damage to each creature, planeswalker, and battle. Or the other choice is to put any number of cards from your hand onto the bottom of your library and then draw that many cards. So it's Pyroclasm, or you can do your Valakut Awakening. Is this card being a sorcery, I think really, really makes it not that good. C-, I think it is playable, and I do want to test this card because how good is Pyroclasm when it actually has the ability to not be Pyroclasm? We know Pyroclasm can be good at times because he talks about how Infest, and the festivities, all these cards that, get rid of all the small creatures are decent.
Sometimes.
This is a version of it that lets you as modal, so it's not that horrible bad card when you don't need it to be.
And the key is that the modes are so different. It's not like deal 2 damage and then deal 3 damage to flyers. It's like, no, it's a totally different card from a totally different scenario. Thank God.
Yes. All right. What's your card?
Invasion of Kaldheim. RIP Toast Key. 3 and a red for a battle. Whenever it enters the battlefield, exile the cards from your hand, then draw that many cards, and you can cast the cards you just exiled until the end of your next turn. It's got 4 battle points, and then it turns into Pyre of the World Tree. Discard a land card. Pyre of the World Tree deals 2 damage to any target. Whenever you discard a land card, exile the top card of your library. You can play it this turn. So it's like, what is that card? Seismic Assault, but you start impulse drawing off of it?
Yeah, this card's awesome.
Reminds me of Bergie?
Yeah, this card is your Feldorn, and again, a Feldorn card, or what is the other one? Prosper. It's perfect for those decks. Also, it's just made for Feldorn. It's like, discard a land? Okay, Feldorn discard cards too. This card's really cool. You basically just get to draw a ton of cards as long as you can play most of those cards that you exile. It just basically was that free card draw, and then you flip this thing and you get way more value. You can just start literally shocking things off the battlefield, and every land you do is drawing you a new card to play.
Yeah, Rock Solid C. It's just card draw. Bunch of card draw, and then you have removal too.
Yeah. All right. Invasion of Karsus, which I don't know where Karsus is. 2, red. When it enters the battlefield, deal 3 damage to each creature and each planeswalker. 4 hit points. And it flips into an awesome card. This flip is one of my favorite backsides. It is Refraction Elemental. Ward, pay 2 life, which is nothing. So it's a 4/4, and whenever you cast a spell, any spell, deal 2 damage to each opponent. I love this
Gutter
card.
Snipe, but powered up.
Gutter Snipe, but it doesn't have to be an instant. It doesn't have to be a sorcery. Any spell you're playing.
I'm kind of interested. Little mini like board clear type thing, and then it turns into your finisher.
Yeah, exactly. I like this. I give it a C. Card's totally reasonable. It's not C plus actually. I give this a C plus. Card's totally reasonable. I think the backside is actually it's such a powerful card in the back.
Changes a lot when you start to play like creatures and artifacts, because those creatures will just like bounce themselves. You can just play like Shrieking Drake and just murder people.
Now, I'll be honest, I've been more and more impressed with, like we said, the Pyroclasms and the Anger of the Gods type effects. These cards are proving to me to be better than I had originally thought. Not that I want to throw a ton of them in my deck, but when they have other abilities like this card, I get interested.
Yeah, you didn't initially think they were that great, but they're proving a little bit better than bad.
Yeah, they're proving better than bad.
All right, Invasion of Tarkir. This one's sweet. 1 and a red. ETB. Reveal any number of dragons from your hand, and then when you do, it deals X plus 2 damage to any other target, where X is the number of cards you revealed this way. Already at least dealing 2 damage. And you're playing this in a dragon deck, spoiler alert. And it turns into Defiant Thundermaw, 4/4 flying trample. When a dragon you control attacks, it deals 2 damage to any target. You're just throwing little shocks all over the place, and it is like a bad removal spell on the front.
Yeah,
Or at least subpar. It's not like the worst thing in the world.
yeah, it's subpar, right? Yeah, but this card is totally fine, and it flips into something pretty decent. It's a C. It's just middle of the road. You're getting something decent on the front. You're getting a 1-for-1. Your Dragon's X are going to have 2 or 3 dragons in their hand, especially because this costs 2 mana. You're going to play this early. Yeah, pick something off, and then later in the game, flip it over. And something I like about this one is you're playing a dragon deck. Dragons fly. They can get through these battles. They can actually damage them reliably. Next, Mirror Style Master 4 red for a 3/3 with backup 1. So that means he's going to get this ability whenever the creature attacks. For each attacking modified creature you control, create a tapped and attacking token that's a copy of that creature. Exile those tokens at the end of combat. So this thing is like modifies matters. It's sort of good. If all your creatures have counters, all of your team getting copied and making extra tokens is strong. Like, that is a strong thing to do.
Right away.
I'm gonna give this a D plus, because my main issue with it is a 6 mana 3/3. The ability does have haste. I just don't know how powerful or reliably powerful that can be. I could be wrong about this card. This is more of like a card that I think could overperform or could easily underperform, depending. Like BZ said, the ability of having haste, if you have lots of creatures with ETBs, that's actually going to be very powerful, even if the attack isn't that viable.
Yeah, but you need to be in like some kind of green-red counters deck. I can't imagine this being good in mono-red.
Yeah, play it in. Yeah, there's green-red is modified colors.
Yeah. Ortheon, Hero of Lava Brink.
Sorry, what was that?
3 and a red for a 3/3. Notably, he's a legendary creature, but we're talking about him outside the command zone, which is why we have no other commanders on here. 1 and a red, tap.
We've already talked about like 500 commanders.
Yeah, that's true. But like, we only have the commanders that look interesting in the 99.
Yes.
You know what I'm talking about. 1 and a red, tap. Create a token in this video so long that we don't need to keep going. That it's a copy of another target creature you control. It gains haste. Sacrifice at the beginning of the next end step. Pay 6 red, and target that creature and just do it 5 times.
Yo, this card is awesome. This is
Right replication.
This is fair Kiki Cheeky / right of replication. It's so cool. This card is such an awesome and fun card. It's super fair. This card is not busted, broken. It's fair beyond belief.
Fizzle the ability all day, so you need to untap with this creature that everyone knows about. Everyone can read it. Have 9 mana, target a creature, and have nothing go wrong.
Yeah, Kiki Jiki's like a B+, A-. This card's a C. But it's so cool, and if you ever get to do that bottom ability, it's gonna feel so good every single time.
It'll feel great.
Up next is Pain Distributor. 2 and a red for a 2/3 with menace. Whenever a player casts their first spell, they get a treasure token. Whenever an artifact an opponent controls is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, it deals 1 damage to that player. This card sucks.
It just gives away a bunch of mana.
It gives all the mana. I would
dings them for 1.
It dings them for 1 per thing. No, thank you. And yes, I know there's a potential. I know this is treasure hate that people want. No, this card's bad. This card is bad. Do not play it. F. I honestly believe this is unplayable trash.
And we don't need treasure hate. Let's go to Path of the Pyromancer. 4 and a red. discard all the cards in your hand, add red for each card discarded this way, then draw that many cards +1. So this one is a little interesting because it kind of costs nothing, but and then you need 5 mana. Still like a D. I mean, what is there to say? It's another wheel for those decks. I think it might be a cool budget wheel.
Yeah, maybe. I agree. D. It's not very good. Next. Oh, it's Urbrask. This card is sweet. 2 red. First strike. 4/4. Legendary creature. Phyrexian Praetor. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery, Urbrask deals 1 damage to target opponent. Add a red mana. That is Birgie's ability. Birgie's a good card. All right. And then pay a red, exile Urbrask, and return to the battlefield transformed under its owner's control. Activate only as a sorcery, only if you've cast 3 or more instant sorceries this turn. Spoiler alert, that's really, really easy.
And it only costs red to flip.
Yes, and then you get to do a little Pyroclasm because it deals 3 damage to target opponent and each creature they control. The bully version of Pyroclasm.
Every enchantment in this set is a Pyroclasm.
And then you create 3 treasures, and then until the end of your turn, you may cast instants and sorceries from all graveyards. Sorry, not actually just your graveyard. Jeez. If a spell is cast this way, we put it in the graveyard instead. It's exiled, and then you exile this and return it as the Urbrask.
And the thing about this one is you just cast all those spells, just flip them right back.
Yes, this card is really, really strong, and there is a lot of potential here with cards that proliferate. There is if you flip, say, like, for example...
That's something we should have brought up earlier. You can proliferate these sagas, and that's what I'm going to want to be doing, to just cheat to the end.
Yes, which is what... It's going to be so strong on this one in particular, because Urbrask is so easy to flip. It's only 1 mana. That's going to come from the instant sorcery you cast in order to get it to the point where it needs to flip. And then it's just... Oh, you go to the back. Flux Channeler's in the battlefield. All right, cast some more spells. Proliferate. Oh, I'm done with this. Go back. I got 3 treasures. I have more mana. Let's just flip it. This card is dumb. This card is so good.
You just start spinning your wheels to no end.
This is the best one by far. I think it's the B+. It is obviously specific. I think Spellslinger only, but in Spellslinger, it's going to be an amazing card. Like, I was talking with somebody yesterday, and they're like, but this card's worse than Birgie. I'm like, yeah, but Birgie's amazing. Who cares if it's worse? Being worse than Birgie doesn't matter, because Birgie is an amazing Magic card.
Yeah, Birgie is very, very good. We're on to green cards now. This is Ancient Imperiosaur. 5 green for a 6/6 with Convoke, Trample, and Ward 2. See, they took Colossal Dreadmaw and they added a mana. And it enters the battlefield with 2+1/+1 counters on it for each creature that convoked it. Just a really big dummy. I feel like a D+ is about right for a really big dummy.
It's really cool. I love this card, but it's bad.
It's like Devour, but you don't have to sacrifice.
It's like undoubtedly not a good Magic card, but when I look at it, it looks so much... They somehow made a vanilla big creature look interesting, which is cool. I mean, it's good that you made this vanilla dummy look good.
To you.
To
some people.
To some people. All right, let's go on to Conclave Sledge Captain. This one has some of the funniest wording.
It's weird.
5 and a green for a 4/4. Backup 1. Backup 1. Backup 1. All right. It has Trample, so it gives that away. And this ability, whenever this creature deals damage to a player, put that many +1/+1 counters on it. Come on, this is so cool.
You get that 3 times.
So if you hit with a 7/7, okay, I'll put 7 counters on it, 7 counters at 21 counters onto this thing. This comes in the same deck as a Colonian Hydra. Do it with a Colonian Hydra. That thing's going to get huge.
And if you give Double Strike on like a 3/3, it hits for 3, and then it gets 9 counters, and then it hits for 12, and then it gets 36 counters.
This card's silly.
That was a 3/3.
You don't have to even do the best creatures. Also, that is not really possible. It would have to be an 0/1 that you put the backup 3 on 3 times.
Oh yeah,
it can't be a 3/3.
See, any stupid incubation token.
Yeah, it literally doesn't matter what you do with it. It's so cool. This card is awesome. I don't think it's very good, but I think it's awesome. I gave it a C. I think it's like middle of the road, fine.
This thing is sick. It makes me want to play Flings. Like Kazul's Fury, get in this deck.
Yeah, my main issue with this card is this is a 6 mana card. That's a lot for something that is just okay.
You got to hit. It's still some setup. Let's go to Emergent Woodworm. 6 and a green for 4/4 with backup 3. It's one of the only times I haven't seen backup 1 on a card. Whenever this creature attacks, look at the top X cards of your library. Where X is its power, you may put a permanent card with mana value X or less from among them onto the battlefield. Put the rest in the bottom in a random order. There's so much text on all of these cards. Backup's reminder text is 4 lines. So this is why we have no energy left.
If you're wondering why this video is so long, BZ, it's not because we are doing a couple more cards. I will say that because this is the commander set, we are doing more cards. combined with the fact that every card has 4,000 lines of text
And 2 faces.
and there's so many good cards in this set.
But they're all double-sided.
Yeah, they're
It's like twice as much reading.
Stop it! You're killing us, Magic the Gathering.
Yeah, this can cheat out a thing right away, and then this will die. It's like a D+.
I don't think this card's bad. I also want to go back to Conclave Sledge. I'm realizing that's a 6 mana card. Give that a D. That card's fine. I like it, but
Keep it in at C.
I think it's a D.
It impacts the board immediately.
I think it's cool, but bad. All right. Invasion of Ikoria. This card's amazing. X green. Okay. Do you know what Finale of Devastation does? Forget the text where it's X is 10 or more. Forget that text. It is Finale of Devastation. It is a tutor for a creature that costs X or less from your graveyard or from your library. Sweet. All right. So
How
now
many battle hits does it take to vanquish this battle?
HP 6. 6 HP. And then it flips into the first true version of Zalortha. Zalortha, Apex of Ikoria. It's a dinosaur. It's a legendary creature. It has reach. It's an 8/8, and each non-token creature you control may have that creature deal combat damage as though it weren't blocked.
Yeah, so you can just take somebody out. This could actually kill somebody, but it's already the best battle on the front side.
Yes, the front side is absurd. I don't care about the back side.
It's probably the best backside.
We'll take the back side. It's like I'll take it. I don't like it's fine. But the front side is amazing. It is a tutor that is versatile. I mean, Finale Devastation's insane even without its +10/+10. Or
How many battle hits does this have?
6.
6? I mean, there's also a world where you just play this for 2 mana, send a 6/6 at it, and just get an 8/8.
Yep, there's just a lot of different things. I mean, even if the thing is, in the deck you're playing this in, when you play it for 2 mana, you're getting Dryad Arbor. You're still going to get Dryad Arbor in that situation.
That's true.
Like, this card is really, really good. This card's an A, easy A,
pretty sick.
It's sick. It's really, really good, and it flips into something that's actually good.
All right, let's go to Invasion of Chandalar. This one, when it enters the battlefield, you return up to 3 target permanent cards from your graveyard to your hand. 3 for 1 for 5 mana. I don't feel like I'm getting really screwed by that. It has 4 life points.
HP.
And at the beginning of your upkeep, when you flip it, you may put a permanent card from your hand onto the battlefield. So it's some of the stuff that you just got back, and it helps cheat the mana to make up for the overcosted ability that you had to pay 5 for on the first time. Okay.
I hate that this is an upkeep trigger. I think this card's pretty bad. 3 for 1 for 5 mana is fine, but it doesn't advance your board state. Honestly, does not advance your board state at all. So you have to flip this thing over afterward. 5, it's a lot. I think it's
waiting.
I think this is a D+. I think this card, the front side is pretty bad. Triple regrowth. You're not even getting a discount on triple regrowth, really.
Well, you can't get spells, so you can't get a board wipe to then offset the fact that you spent so much mana. It's kind of weird.
Yeah, I don't like it. D+, D, it's pretty bad.
Maybe C-, whatever.
Yeah, whatever. So, D+. Kami of Whispered Hopes. This thing is Tameo. 2 green for a 1/1. If 1 or more +1/+1 counters will be put on the permanent you control, put that many +1 onto it instead, so you get an extra counter on everything. This is the Hardened Scales text. And then you taps to add green of any color where X is its power. Okay.
Tameo loved +1/+1 counters. She couldn't get enough of them.
I don't know why I said green of any color. X mana of any color. So this thing is Hardened Scales Mana Dork. And
it does a lot.
It does do a lot. This is, in your decks that want the Hardened Scales and want this Mana Dork, my Halana Lana deck is getting this right away. This is just going right in there. This card, I already play the Mana Dorks that tap for their power in the deck, and I already play Hardened Scales. Yes, please. I'll take them both in one card. It's a C. I don't think this card's busted or broken, but it's good.
It just combines Joiner Adept and Hardened Scales onto a card, and you're like, yes, please.
I would much enjoy that.
Ozolith, Part 2, The Shattered Spire. 1 and a green for a legendary artifact. If 1 or more counters will be put on an artifact or creature you control, you get an additional one. It's Tameo. Tameo has the powers of the Ozolith. 1 and a green tap, put a +1/+1 counter on target artifact or creature you control, which would be 2 counters. Activate only as a sorcery. Cycling 2, because this was from Ikoria.
Yeah, this card's interesting. So Hardened Scales is really strong in counters decks. It's undeniable. This is a 2-mana version that can also put counters on, but the rate for putting counters on is bad. But it can cycle when it's bad because sometimes Hardened Scales is bad. So I don't know what to think of this card. I think it's the worst Hardened Scales effect we've seen so far, personally. Gave it a C-. It's fine, but I'm not sure about it.
I'll give it a C.
That's fair. I think C is also a fair grade. I can also, this card could be better than that, right? Hardened Scales is in the Bs, so it's just is this card in the Bs? Potentially. I mean, I don't know. I haven't tested it.
I think everybody underestimated the first Ozolith, so maybe it'll happen again.
Yeah, that's fair. Next, Path of the Animist. 3 green for exactly Explosive Agitations. Get 2 basics, put them on the battlefield. Tapped, and then it has flavor text, which we don't care about.
It's only not an F because it's a functional card. There's just 87 versions better.
Yeah, exactly. It's Explosive Agitation, not an F. It's a D minus. It's bad. I'm not. You should never play it really, but it functions as a Magic card. It's so funny. It's so hard for me to explain why this card's bad, because this card is in a vacuum when you don't know the format, good, because you just don't know all those other cards exist. But then as you learn the format, you go, oh,
I could play Sky Shroud Lane.
There's like
Circuitous Route.
There's 17 versions of this card that are just better, and that's like. This card's good, but bad.
Yep. Tribute to the World Tree. People like this one. Green, green, green for enchantment. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, power 3 waiter, draw a card. Less than that, put 2 counters on it.
I want to say a card that you're lower on than I am, and I have actually, the more I've seen it, the more I've been impressed by it.
Is it Elemental Bond?
Is Elemental Bond. I really think that card is just good. I'm much higher on it than I used to be, where it'd be, like we used to like say, hey, that card's bad, and BZ might still think it's bad. That's a fair opinion to have. I've come around, I think it's just a good card. Now it's better. And if your deck can reliably play green, 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 it is literally straight up better than that. So you're drawing for your 3-power creature. And then anything smaller is entering with counters. This card is awesome.
With this and Elemental Bond, I'm just not 100% sure where to play it. Because, like, obviously, if you're just playing creatures, Beast Whisperer and Great Henge and Guardian Project are all just better. Because I don't want the counters probably, like, on my mana door because I don't care. It's, like, still not that great. But maybe if you're making a bunch of tokens that are 3 or greater, this can be good. Like, I've seen Elemental Bond be good because it's in, like, Omnath, you know. Whenever you do anything, now you're just drawing a card. I'm also referring to the green-red.
Yes.
There's 5 of those.
Yes, that was actually exactly what I was going to say. I think when you need to draw off your tokens and you're making decently sized tokens, this is good. And like even with this, like even if you're making any kind of tokens with this card,
it at least pays you off for making tiny ones in a big numbers.
Yeah, so I think any token deck can just play this card.
Pretty excited about this one. I think this card's pretty cool. I won't play it in that many green decks, though.
Yeah, B. I'm going to give it a B. I think this card's just good.
Works for me.
Yeah, Vorinclex. I have to read 1.5 million words again, but this one actually really easy. 3 green, green for a 6/6 trample reach. When it enters the battlefield, search your library for up to 2 fourths. Does not say basics. Put them into your hand and then shuffle. And then, okay. I've read 4. BZ read 1. I read 3. You've seen these things before. They all have caveats as to why you can activate them. Not Vorinclex.
His caveat is have a lot of mana.
Yeah, so you have to pay 8 mana to transform him into the Grand Evolution. Mill 10 cards. Put up to 2 target creatures from among the milled cards onto the battlefield. Then you distribute 7 counters among any number of target creatures you control. And then the final one is until end of turn, creatures you control get pay 1. This creature fights target creature you don't control, and then you return it as
you just fight everything.
It's gonna be a board wipe. It is one of the coolest, over the top, like awesome ones.
Jeez.
I love the card. I absolutely love the card. But 8 mana is a stupid amount to pay. And how many times can you? I know it gives you the 2 to put onto the battlefield eventually. How many times can you afford to pay 8 mana and they get Beast Within? 0 before you start realizing you wasted 8 mana.
So this one and Shield Red are the ones that don't kind of just like loop, where I go, and the last mode of the saga lets you flip it again. It's like, this just doesn't. It's like, you spent all your mana. Now you have to spend all your mana again.
Yeah, you're right.
So you can't like loop it, but I think it's still pretty sick. You just cheat out 2 giant monsters, throw 1 million counters on something, and then destroy all your opponent's creatures.
This card is incredibly cool, but I think it's a D+. I don't think it's good.
Yeah, I think
I could be underestimating the land tutors and the body.
So the thing about this one is that green is by far the easiest to proliferate. So this will be the one that ultimates the most.
That's fair. It's funny that we're calling it an ultimate. I think it's
it ultimates the most.
Yeah. All right. What's the last of these green cards?
Oh God, it's Chromatic Lantern. 3 colorless for an artifact. Nope, it's Ren and Realmbreaker. 1 green green for a 4 loyalty planeswalker. Lands you control have tap, add a mana of any color. And then I'm gonna say a bunch of more words, and you're gonna walk away with no more information. It's +1. Up to 1 target land you control becomes a 3/3 elemental creature with vigilance, hexproof, and haste until end of turn. It's still a land. -2, mill 3 cards. You may put a permanent card from among the cards milled into your hand. -7, you get an emblem with. You may play lands and cast permanent spells from your graveyard. Whew.
This card's enough. I put D-9 on the script, and I realized as you read that this card's terrible. This card is absolutely terrible. Plus, you can put your land into danger. It can protect itself. No.
Well, like the other option is also like, it doesn't have to do that. It's like, okay, +1 to do nothing then.
Yeah, +1 to do nothing. I've already told you, especially in green, Chromatic Lantern text I think is not worth anything. It is basically nothing.
If your mana base is tuned, I think it's also worth nothing regardless.
Yes, and the minus is not regrowth. It is regrowth from the card's mill, which is bad. Boo, F. Do not play this card.
Yeah, it's going to be tough to ultimate, too, because it doesn't plus. There's nothing on the plus.
Yeah, it's
stinky.
I love this next card, even though it's bad.
Multicolored.
X Wooberg. Search your library for up to X battle cards with different names. Put them onto the battlefield, then shuffle.
I love it. Yes. Here we go. Battle payoff. Finally.
I mean, it costs a ton. Like, a ton. But it's super cool. I mean, if you're going to build your battle deck... Did you say finally, by the way? Battle payoff?
Yeah. Finally.
like we've
waited 25 years.
Okay. So, yeah. So, this card is sweet. It's really cool. I give it a C. Obviously, you can only play it in your specific battle deck, but it's cool.
It's probably a backbreaker, just like Game Ender in that deck. That's one deck. That's like 1 in a million decks. It's not even an archetype.
Yeah. So, this is an F, except when it's in this weird archetype.
Next is a spirit who chases birds. It's a flock chaser phantom, 4 white blue for a 5/5 with convoke, flying, and vigilance, and whenever it attacks, the next spell you cast this turn has convoke.
Giving spells convoke
white
is,
tokens.
Yeah, giving spells convoke is a fairly strong ability. This card is only going to be in your convoke decks. I think or token decks. But those token decks that we're talking about and these convoke decks are going to be playing those make X tokens things, which is going to make this card extra powerful when you can give that next spell you cast is like secure the waste. Okay, secure the waste when I already had like 10 tokens to play is ridiculous. It gets a lot better.
Right, but you can't do it instant speed. So you kind of have
true.
to go, here's all my dudes. I'm not a big fan of this, like, give your next thing convoke. It doesn't really speak to me. I mean, it's fine. It's good. It says your creatures tap for mana until end of turn, but I'm not jazzed by it. I think C is fine. It's not even a bad card.
Yeah, not at all. I think the card is
boring to me.
Yeah, it's totally reasonable. This next card is an uncommon and is reminiscent of a rare. It is Halo Forager. 1 blue, black for a 3/1 flyer. When it enters the battlefield, you may pay X. When you do, you may choose target instant or sorcery with mana value X from a graveyard. You can play it without paying its mana cost, and then if it goes to the graveyard, it's exile instead. So this is a Snapcaster Mage without flash for 1 more mana, but can do from your opponent's graveyard.
It's also Direfleet Daredevil.
So it's combination Direfleet Daredevil, Snapcaster Mage because you can do it from any graveyard. It's a cool little card, and for some reason it's an uncommon, which is really weird.
It just has power and flying.
Yeah, it's a C. This card's totally reasonable. It's playable, especially I think this card's going to be really good in budget. Like if you want to do some sort of like budget ninjas deck, I think that this is going to be like the perfect kind of card for it.
All right, let's go to Invasion of Alara. This is appropriately Wooberg because Alara is awesome. When it enters the battlefield, there's not even reminder text. There's no room on this. Exile cards from the top of your library until you exile 2 non-land cards with mana value 4 or less. You may cast one of them for free, and the other one goes into your hand. There's a lot of Fs in a row. I was still reading it. Then put the other cards exiled this way on the bottom of your library in a random order. And this has a health bar with 7 pips in it. And it transforms into Awaken the Maelstrom, which is a sorcery.
It doesn't transform.
It's whatever. It's Awaken, it's all colors. Target player draws 2 cards. You may put an artifact from your hand on the battlefield. You get a token that's a copy of a permanent you control. You distribute 3 counters among 1, 2, or 3 creatures. And you destroy target permanent an opponent controls.
Card's cool. Card is so cool. The Maelstrom is coming to life. What a cool card.
Oh, that's what's going on? I never even looked at it.
It's Awaken the Maelstrom.
His hands coming out. It's cool.
Yeah, the Maelstrom is coming to life and killing the Phyrexians. It's a cool card. Cool card. I mean, the problem with this card isn't that it's bad. It's that it's Wooberg. Where do you play it? C. Fine card. Does a lot of little things. Just whatever.
It's cool.
Next, Invasion of... Again, I looked up where these planes were, and I still don't know where these planes are. Tonawanda. 3 white, black. This enters, and you put a permanent from your graveyard onto the battlefield. Its health bar is 5, or HP, as the kids say. The Broken Sky. Creature tokens you control have +1/+0 and +1/+0 and lifelink. And at the beginning of your end step, you get a 1/1 white-black spirit creature token with flying.
I like the lifelink, although you do get it. You have to get it second main.
This card's weird because it returns permanents but cares about tokens. So it's like what a strange card. I'm not sure how to play this. It's an overcosted reanimation spell. D, I think this card's whatever.
D feels appropriate. Let's go to Invasion of New Phyrexia. They played the Uno reverse card. They went, no, you. It is X red. It is X white blue. When it enters the battlefield, you get X 2/2s with vigilance. Okay, I mean that's a functional card. Oh, sorry, I didn't mention the siege loyalty is 6. And it turns into Teferi. You wonder where Teferi was on the back of this friggin' battle. Teferi Akosa of Zalfir starts at 4, +1, draw 2 cards and discard 2 cards, unless you discard a creature card. This is the weirdest Teferi ever. -2, you get an emblem with knights you control, get +1/+0, and have ward 1. -3, tap X creatures you control. When you do, shuffle target non-land permanent opponent controls with mana value X or less into its owner's library. Teferi doesn't do any of this stuff. Teferi puts something on top, but he doesn't care about tapping creatures.
This card's cool. I mean, the front card, BZ says, a functional card, but what I was really thinking about is I've built some token decks over the years. I don't have one currently, but I've built them. I never end up playing Finale of
not Promise, not Eternity, Glory.
Finale of Glory, and I never end up playing that card. It's Finale of Glory, but the thing that is relevant about this is it does make a relevant creature type in Knights for your Knights deck. So if you care about the creature type Knights, this is a nice token generator for that deck.
Right, but usually Finale, a card where you really don't play that often, can say make 60 power.
Yeah, so C-, totally reasonable card. This next card is so cool. This is Mist Meadow Vanisher.
Callback.
Vanisher. It is a callback, and it even has the same Mist Meadow in it, creature thing. 2 and a Zorius Hybrid, that's what it is, for a 3/2, and when it becomes tapped, exile up to 1 target non-token permanent, and then return it to the battlefield under its owner's control at the beginning of the next end step. All right, so you just need to get this thing tapped. This is for the Convoke deck. Vehicles, Convoke deck. This would be a cool, first thing, I just think this card should be a legend. This is an awesome card that I would love to build around.
Her name's Gruntrildo, and she is a legend.
Why not Grintilda?
From Banjo?
From Banjo. Grintilda, yeah.
No, Grinthildo.
Yeah. See, this is the middle of the road card. It's not broke, it's not busted. It's really cool. This card is ridiculous. Talk about a night payoff. This card's ridiculous.
I want to talk about that half the gold cards are blue-white. I don't know why they just decided blue-white get all the good stuff.
Well, it's because it's from the
There's a lot of gold cards in the set.
It's the pre.
There's a lot of chances for other gold cards to be good. 2 white, blue for a 3/3. Whenever you draw a card, put a +1/+1 counter on each other merfolk and or knight you control.
This card's absurd. This is what an absurd Magic card.
There's your payoff.
For your merfolk and knight decks, this is one of the best cards. Talk about a lord. Literally every single turn, a counter on your whole team. Okay, that's already pretty good.
That's the floor.
And then you start drawing cards, and suddenly you've pumped your whole team ridiculously while refilling your hand. This card's amazing. What a payoff. B.
And there's cards that are 3 and a blue, draw a card for each creature you control of a certain type. Well, you're dead.
All right, this card is awesome. I love this card, and I just realized I think I'm going to give it a higher grade because it's so cool. Wildfire Awakener X, 1 red, white for a 3/2 with Convoke. And when it enters the battlefield, you create X 1/1 red elemental tokens with whenever this creature becomes tapped, it deals 1 to any player. Card is awesome. I think it's a C+.
They stay. Tokens don't just die.
Yes, you get a bunch of tokens when you play this card. It has Convoke for itself, so you can make as many, like we talked about before, you can make a ton of tokens with this.
Now, this is an X spell in disguise.
Yes, and then all of the tokens, when they are used to Convoke in the Convoke deck, are super powerful and deal damage. I love this card. C+.
Yeah, I think it's really cool. C+ sounds good to me. Let's go to the colorless cards. Nissa decided to name her little sword. It's Bitterthorn, Nissa's Animus. I don't know why she was that's a negative name to me, but I think Phyrexia, she would be jazzed about it.
Well,
but is it negative as positive? I don't care. We're too late in this review to figure that out. 3 mana for a living weapon. Equipment, it gets +1/+1, and when a quick creature attacks, you can search your library for a basic and put it in play tapped, just like the regular sword, and it is equipped for 3. They added 1 to the equip cost and added 1 to the casting cost, but you just get a creature. It's gonna do it unless they kill the germ, but then they're just killing a germ.
Yeah, this card's whatever. I mean, this card is, it's so much worse. Awakening the Animus, I would give a B, or Sword of the Animus, I would give a B. This card, I mean, being 3 and then you can get 1 from its attack, but you have to wait. One of the great things about swords, you play it and equip it. Equipping is 6 mana. That's a lot.
It's way harder.
It's way harder. It's like a C-. I don't think this card's bad, but it's way worse than the actual Sword of the Animus.
Yeah, I think when you get away with something with this card is giving it haste. That's how you cheat mana. Yeah. And you're I pay 3 and get the effect.
Yeah, that's fair. Okay, moving on. Ichor Elixir, 4 mana, taps for 2 wingdings, but if you roll 1 or more planar dice, instead roll that many planar dice +1 and ignore 1.
It's Krark's Thumb for planar dice.
This is a D.
We're not playing Plane Chase.
Flavor text is a Cisei's Ring. Cisei's Ring's not good.
Yep. Let's go to Invasion of Ravnica. That's the last invasion. 5 colorless. Well, just 5 generic. 4, when it enters the battlefield, exile target non-land permanent and opponent controls that isn't exactly 2 colors. It has 4
power points.
And it turns into Guild Pact Paragon, a 5/5. Whenever you cast a spell that's exactly 2 colors, look at the top 6 cards of your library, and you can reveal a card that's exactly 2 colors from among them and put it in your hand, and the rest go on the bottom. It draws a bunch of cards, and it is interesting because we're looking at, like, colorless doesn't get the ability to exile stuff just straight up because it's like it would be a color pie break because you can't give it to every color. It's like one of the cheapest ways to just kill something.
Yeah, it's interesting. So here's the question, BC. Is this the card that you finally make an exception for in this deck? Because it's so awesome.
I can't do it.
It's literally so cool and fits perfectly in that deck. It literally, it's gonna every time you cast any other spell, draw a card. Come on,
can't do it.
It's amazing. You know, you're a fool for
not. The
stipulation
stipulation is everything has to be multicolored. They should have made this multicolored.
You're dumb.
And exactly 2 colors.
All right, moving on. Realmbreaker, the Invasion Tree. This is the second card featuring Realmbreaker. 3 mana for a legendary artifact. Pay 2, tap. Target opponent mills 3 cards. Put a land from their graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. If that land would go to the graveyard, or actually if it would leave the battlefield, instead you exile it, and you can pay 10 attack right. Sacrifice Realmbreaker, the Invasion Tree. Search your library for any number of Praetor cards. Put them onto the battlefield.
That's awesome.
It's so
flavorfully, it's kind of telling you because there's only so many Praetors, you're just gonna have multiple Elesh Norns. But I mean, I love the callback to the the World Tree. I kind of wish this would just been a land.
Why isn't this a land?
Like an artifact land.
You know, why don't you make it an artifact land? And why doesn't it cost maybe make the ability cost 3 or 4, so that like it balances out being a land. Whatever. It's just not. Making an artifact land, it should have been, but it's not. C-.
It's still really cool.
This card is cool, awesome, and really fun.
It's ramp in non-green decks. Let's also, that's a thing.
It is. Yeah, but it is pretty helpful in that way.
All right. Next, Sword of Moist and Stinky. It's 3 mana for an equipment. Equipped creature gets +2/+2 and has protection from blue and black. And when it hits a player, you surveil 2, and you can cast an instant or sorcery mana value 2 or less from your graveyard for free. The usual caveats apply, and it equips for 2, just like every other sword. We finally finished the cycle. And this one is okay. You can kind of just rebuy a removal spell, probably.
So the best way to put this is a good sword. Swords suck. So the problem
swords generally are meh.
The problem is even the best swords are like maybe a C-, D+. Swords just aren't very good. They're cool. They're awesome. They're some of the coolest equipments. That players love them. I love them. They're really, really awesome. They're just not very good. It's a D. Put it in if you enjoy it. I wouldn't suggest playing it. Usually, this is not going to be a budget card. The swords just are never budget cards. So if you like this card, play it. But if you're looking for power, I would not put it in any of my decks.
I'm excited that we finished the sword cycle, and you can cycle back to the previous set because you probably didn't see the Phyrexia All Will Be One set review. Don't sleep on it. You got to know what these cards do.
Yeah, there's a Sword of Forge and Frontier. Look at it.
Get in there.
Peace out, Tribe Scouts.